Part 8 of She's Always Not There, all other parts down in comments. Decided to not make the dogs a bargaining chip. Just seemed like it would be wrong as I didn't make that a condition when I agreed to drop them for a few days. I know I missed them those 2 weeks when I first left, she has to know. Thought it would be a good act to put forward in the humane department. Won't be ditching the lawyer, will proceed to whatever the next steps are, and if I decide otherwise, he can wait in the wings as long as I need. He is good, founding partner of one of the largest firms in town, been doing good for 40 years. Wonder if my W knows that. She probably will when she mentions his name to her guy tomorrow. That's assuming she actually has a meeting with a lawyer in the morning. She may have just been throwing a Hail Mary to avoid having to come up with a retainer, even a small one. If she goes with Jim Bob's family law. Why she doesn't want a face-to-face, embarrassment is my main suspect. 10 days ago. When I went back for the rest of my stuff, she was elsewhere while I moved, later claiming it was because she was not able to look at me after what I did to that poor girl. OMW. This is the next time a face-to-face would have been expected since then. And she even initiated it on Sun by asking if she could have the pups for a few days. I told her I'd drop them off on 2s and she said okay. Then today she said she needed to figure out a transfer for the drop-off. And she did say tonight on the phone that she's not ready for anything like that yet, actual conversation, perhaps having to talk about what went down, etc. I did see on her email the other day, she's been ordering pizza almost every night. Kind of makes me sad actually. Because that was a habit. We both broke a few months ago when we started working out all the time. It's always a shame to see physical progress like we made get snuffed out in a few weeks. I've done that to myself dozens of times over the years. But, then I wouldn't know, maybe that's why she doesn't want to meet to my face. An extra 5 to 10 pounds she's socked on. Who knows, I'm looking great though. I will say this, talking with OMW about some details she was asking about from the text logs. I noticed how many people in my W's work circle were made aware of this infatuation before it was actually consummated. The scene I've discovered from my W's travel colleagues, they knew she was trying to make it happen, many encouraged her. Telling her to put her happiness first, even said him. It's awesome. Men and women, single and married, they call this kind of thing RFB, road ex-buddies, or road fever. Makes me nauseous. As I've been out with most of these people many times in the last year or two as a group, that they could be so shallow and push her toward this. Not only knowing she was married, as was OM, but also knowing me, it's sickening. Only one of them that I know of said, hey, you're both adults. You make your own decisions. And you both know the consequences, so you have to do what makes you happy. But he's also the one that said the awesome quote from above. Toxic friends. That said, they all also now know that she got summarily busted. Her husband figured it all out and left her. And the OM is in a similar boat, he's been kicked out. And OMW is struggling to consider R as he's been remorseful. So, my W now has that hanging over her head, and everyone knows it, and they hopefully will rethink that toxic environment of road fever in the future. Because someone finally saw the consequences. I bet she's pretty embarrassed. Even though they're all probably being supportive of her in her time of need, they know deep down she got what was coming for her actions. Another brick wall. Thought we were good after talking last night. Today I get texted, this is going to cost a whole lot of money. Skip the dogs, I can't afford an hour of daycare. Then, heard you have the costliest lawyer in town, yet the least responsive. Is all this necessary? So, she talked to a lawyer, he knows mine, and passed his rep on to her. He's been very responsive, BTW. If he's not available, I can always get a secondary attorney or his assistant on the phone, and know he's not the most expensive. But he isn't cheap, what does she care? It's not her money, right? Since it's all so simple to work the details out, she can hire a $50 an hour lawyer and will probably get the same result. She can say I wasted my money. I could even argue the same. Is it all necessary? No, I told her that on the phone last night, also told her that I would consider mediation if we were able to talk about things rationally. But in the meantime, I have no better option than to let a professional handle things. I warned her that I would divorce her if she went on this Vegas trip, and if she went ahead and cheated. She denied everything and went anyway. When she came back, I told her I'd seen an attorney and had papers drawn up but gave her a chance to tell me her story from the beginning and I would at least listen. She denied everything. Then I found the texts and I pulled the trigger. She knew the consequences, she didn't care then, Now she's worried about a couple $1,000s after blowing a few times that prepping and paying for her a fair week. Would love to remind her of these things, but at the moment worry that I couldn't do it without anger in my voice. As all of it is still really painful for me to deal with, perhaps an email. Perhaps ignore. Perhaps a short text saying there are many things that weren't necessary. Right now, this is the only way to handle it. It's true lawyers aren't necessary, as the division of assets should be simple. No kids, no trust funds, no property besides the house, etc. I want to be able to do mediation and keep costs down for myself. And her. By extension. If I say, "Okay, honey, you showed me complete disrespect for the last 4 months. You created this entire situation by your own selfish actions. You were going to string me along for as long as you needed while digging a hole under me in our marriage, so you could eventually slip out the back door and blame the whole thing on me. Sure. I'll roll over like your ex-husband did and give you the gift of a home remedy divorce. Then I give up most of the self-respect I've gained through this process. Because she'll have it the way she planned anyway, well, plus some exposure. Guilt and shame, seriously. Is it vindictive? If the main reason I don't want to give on lawyers is because I don't want to give her the pleasure. Maybe, can't think of another way to explain it to her than the way I did last night though. This suck. I got a lawyer to follow through on the consequences I laid out and show her I was serious. She knows I'm serious. But she thinks I'm just trying to hurt her financially and get her back by sticking on this. In truth, am I? Hard to think straight. As for the dogs, come on, she can order $27 in pizza every day and buy a used car. But can't pay $10 for an hour of daycare so she can pick them up without seeing me? When I left I didn't take my toys and go home. That was totally justified. But now that the point has been made and made hard, and as much as I don't want to give her the satisfaction of running any of this on her terms, wondering if someday looking back I'll be able to respect myself for sticking to my guts. When I guess I'm just trying to end the marriage too. Where do I draw the line here? Really waffling, but I am not the stick-it-to-her guy. I'm the guy in charge right now. Can't I be alpha? Be in charge, and still soften the financial blow on both of us? Isn't the high road just as painful to her as the hard road now, considering her affair has been exposed to family and some friends, her work colleagues, and her now, presumably, ex-BF's wife? Seems the only thing left is financial punishment. And I'm starting to feel that's not somewhere I want to go if I can't even think of a way to respond to her about that without hovering around the truth on how I feel about it. Just so tired of keeping my dukes at the ready, like my lawyer told me on our initial consultation, given our situation. No kids, easily split assets, etc. She can't really do anything to me. And I can't really do anything to her. So it will be very easy. All she could do is maybe have me arrested or put a restraining order on me. She can't do anything substantial. So, what am I fighting this point for still? The point has been made. Email I have crafted but haven't sent yet, If you want to see the dogs, I want you to see them. I offered to drop them off. You suggested daycare. If you don't want to see them over $10, then I'll respect that and keep them with me, your call. You don't have to hire a lawyer. Right now, I simply think professional advice has been necessary. He can write up the agreement, with input from you through me. And if it's agreeable it's all good. Like you said, there are no kids, trust funds, etc. to be considered, but certainly details. If we are able to agree to mediation though, I would keep him retained, and if things went south or weren't handled in a reasonable manner, he would be recalled stepping in. I would have some things that would need to be agreed upon before considering mediation. As you may too. I'll think about it and get back to you. Sitting on this for a while. Feel the need to respond before too long though. I didn't send the email. Now she calls and says there's a realtor coming over tomorrow, and in order to list the house they need me there because we both have to sign the listing. I told her I don't want the house listed. That we had talked about looking into other options. Short sale, deed in lieu of foreclosure, to try to dump the house and not take the full loss. She said she has to get a real estate lawyer to prove the house is underwater. And he requires a realtor to have the listing and value the house first. I told her I could come by for that, but I didn't want the house listed, and would tell the realtor that. She said okay. We'll see about that, and to avoid any confusion here, I'll reiterate that the house is both of ours. We bought it together and we're both on the original mortgage. We refinanced about 5 years ago, and it's only her name on the mortgage after that due to my freelance income status. New at the time. I don't want to sign my name on anything that might end up costing me 20 grand, my half of what the house would lose on sale, when we have other options. This could be the truth, or this could be a way for her to try to smack some financial pressure back onto me, considering the text she sent me earlier today. As for the dogs, I said since I'd have to come by anyway, would she still like me to drop them off then for a few days? She said no. That's all right, so I guess they're all mine now. A bit surprised, to be honest, but I just said okay. I have sent a note to my attorney, will sign nothing in the meantime, unless advised to go ahead, and am prepared to cancel or postpone the meeting. At least my involvement, this is when I need my lawyer. I guess, cannot imagine a mediator would be able to do much for me at the moment. Thanks all, and it is strange that she canceled the face-to-face today because she's not ready to talk or see me. And then hours later she sets up an app I supposedly need to be present for. Wouldn't she just ask me to stop by the realtor's office to sign papers instead? They shouldn't call this divorce yet, should call it months of forced speculation. Yes, the divorce is officially open for business. Slept like crap last night, hoping for a good solid 8 hours tonight. Text from wife. There's 2 ways of doing this. You and I figure this out and have lawyers write up and let us sign, or we go back and forth with them between us till we're broke. You could have not spent what I've now totaled to be in the neighborhood of 5,000 to 6,000 prepping for an affair trip. Went ahead and had the affair after being confronted and warned, and we would not be in this situation right now, maritally or financially. And we could still lean on each other. Or, already broke, what's the difference? The last few days have been the first actual contact we've made since August. In my mind, it is a big decision how to handle it. At least at first, just posting my thoughts here so I can get things clear and maybe some insight. Whether or not it's needed, I'll try to keep the speculation to a lower level. The texts have been flying at me. Finally replied to one, good response from me, clear, concise, pissed her off. More incoming. Each point she starts to make, she cuts herself off before finishing, with, never mind or forget it, whatever. We'll just pay them forever. The zinger. She caps it off with, don't know why you wanted to do this. Folks, I'm itching here, so many ways to send that one over the fence. But for now, I'll refrain and let her think about it. She is off her rocker to ask me that. My STBXW can be empathetic and has shown that to me as well as many friends over the years. She was fiercely loyal to the people she loves. My problem is I'm not in that category anymore, and she is fiercely stubborn and often cold with people that are no longer in her club. That said, I think she should be in therapy, if at least to work out her delusional behavior lately. She may have a disorder of some kind too. Never know. Trying to work on myself as much as I can, she hasn't set fire to me yet. And is now beginning to calm down and listen to some reason. I guess either the reality of my situation is just pretty common around here, or people nailed the circumstances right away and gave good insight, where I left to my own devices over the last 6 weeks. I'd probably be in a ditch somewhere eating corned beef hash out of a can. Here we go, let it begin, nothing big, just now my STBXW is becoming very proactive about moving things forward. Has already listed the house, against my wishes, as I want to look at alternative options to sale. And wants me to sign the realtor agreement. My attorney said he will talk to me this afternoon and not to sign anything before we do that. She is also asking me to get more of my stuff from the house so it will show better. Wants input on fixing up the house for sale, etc. All basic stuff. But the reality is, and why I'm posting this, I realize I now am having to start dealing with some of the larger decisions in the process, financial and legal, on a daily basis, and she seems to be pressing the gas pedal. I am very busy with work this weekend, so I guess the stress is creeping on me a little. But I'm handling it okay. Staying all business and running anything involving a signature by my lawyer. Not agreeing to do things that are ridiculous. She asked if I'd help paint the basement this weekend. Told her I would rather she hire someone. She agreed, but in trying to act in a reasonable manner to reasonable requests. In a somewhat timely manner. As that's what I'm asking her to do. I'm not going to let her control the tempo and make my life more hectic than it already is. Within reason. So I fear some pushback moments that may set us back on the civil front, since she'll be angry that she's not getting her way again. But on the upside, moving forward is what I want, so I should be glad she's getting the ball rolling and not trying to drag her feet. I guess it's just because I don't have time to deal with it this weekend. And she's all in a hurry, she can wait. We shall see if the civility remains in the equation. Here's hoping. Wife emails from iPad today saying help, can't move, back hurts, think I had a seizure. Can't get to phone, please come. I replied, you want an ambulance? She said no. I told her I'd come over. She is epileptic but hasn't had a seizure in 15 years. With no phone I had to go. She did have a seizure and fell down the basement stairs. Blood all in her hair and on the floor. Was able to get her to a couch and can't convince her to go to the hospital. They will give her pain meds and tell her to rest. She says. I helped get a few things in front of her. Like water. Some food and her phone. We've talked about random things, it's been pleasant, though I have no intention of staying the rest of the day and night to wait on her. Control play. Doubt it, test to see if I care if she lives or dies. Maybe, but I felt it was right, first time we've spoken in person since I left, in the interest of civility. I think it was good, and to be honest I do care if she lives or not. I just don't care to be her buddy or stay married to her. She's going to try to get a girlfriend to help her tonight. Maybe stay with her. She looks like hell, but blood will do that. Odd day, still there right now, have to leave to get work done soon. I admit that I had wondered on the way over, is this what it seems on the surface? When I pulled up, I looked around for cars of friends that I might recognize. I regretted that I hadn't brought a VAR. Etc. Hell. I even looked out the window a few times to make sure someone wasn't taking my car once I went inside, but I honestly was not expecting an ambush here. Just keeping my eyes open. But once I saw her, I knew she just needed help, and as much as I have no reason to be nice to her. This was not a matter of nice. Just not the type of person to respond to a message like that by saying ambulance on the way. Good luck, I'm no saint, but I do care enough to help her in a serious situation. Even though I was in full-on alpha mode, I felt relief that we could be in the same room and be at ease. Not at ease over the affair and lying, cause damn, but at ease over the reality of me being gone setting in, and knowing that it's at least possible. Only saying possible here, guys. To end this on a less sour note, helping her up on the couch, and then cleaning, disinfecting the wound on the back of her head required me to make contact, touch her hair and act in a caring way. It was hard, but it was also natural. Because the craziness was taken out of the equation, given the circumstances. And let's be honest. I'm used to taking care of her when she needed it, kind of like neighbors fighting on opposite sides of the Civil War. Helping the other when injured. I'm sorry it had to be over an injury, but I can't think of a more natural way to make contact for the first time after such a horrific period. Instead of getting together to pour over debts and argue about affair expenses being reimbursed to me, etc. So, I'm thankful for that. And no worries folks, I'm not going soft. I have been expecting face-to-face contact for a week or two now in some capacity. She has still shown no remorse or even mentioned what she did to me in our marriage. And whether or not it may have been a bad thing, today she thanked me many times for helping her and taking care of her. I said you're welcome once. The rest of them I either nodded or changed the subject. She apologized for keeping me from my work, to which I said, I'll be fine. She even asked if I'd like to stay for some pizza that she had ordered while I was there. I got the door when it came. As she was couch-bound, I said no thanks, I have to get back, without any kind of actual apology for the bunker buster she dropped on our marriage. I can't be gotten to. Won't let that happen. If she starts calling me asking for help with non-important issues, my response will not be the same as today. But I appreciated the civility. And yes, I will hold on to the email. One more thing, while there I asked to use her laptop to look up a few things about the head wound, make sure I cleaned it right. As I am no MD. She said sure. I asked for the password, she gave it, and there I was sitting in the chair across the room from her. With the screen facing away from her. And her not being able to move. I could have scanned emails, I could have grabbed the most recent backup text log and emailed it to myself. Whatever. I thought about it, but I didn't do it. I looked up what I said I was going to look up and then set the laptop back down on the table. Can only look at that as a good thing. Let's hear it for 180. She did say she has not been taking her meds regularly lately, perhaps due to stress. Depression, not giving a crap. Not sure, but she took one while I was there. She always takes that pill like clockwork at night before bed, but as you know, I can't speak for the last month. as I've been gone, assuming it was definitely a seizure. I wasn't there when it happened, so I can only go by what I saw at the house and how she was acting. She clearly needs to be taking them daily. Alcohol may have been a factor though. She could have been really over the edge and fallen down the stairs with the same result. Either way, she was hurt pretty bad. Guess it doesn't matter, as far as my involvement today. Also, she just texted me 10 hours later, thanks again for helping me. Between that and the email, I don't think I have to worry about her fabricating a story about why I was at the house. And what happened? About her job, she started traveling about 3 years ago, but at that time it was very rare. 3 to 4 times a year. And for a week at a time. On her first trip she told me she didn't know if she could handle being apart from me, as we'd hardly spent a night apart in 5 years prior. Then 2 years ago she got in with a client that had her traveling closer to 5 to 7 days a month. Then about 1 year ago she got a 4-month job in a major city, and I moved there with her for that time, then a few 2-week jobs. A few weeks home and then bam, 10 weeks traveling from town to town, no possibility for me to visit her easily or settle in with her like the 4-month job a year ago. So, it really kind of ratcheted up in the last year, just that the travel was almost constant and the lengths of time were growing. I was becoming very vocal about wanting her to take more time off or find something that keeps her in town more often. I certainly didn't want to control her career, as she was finding a lot of success. When things got weird, and we were talking relationship more often, she knew I was not thrilled at any travel anymore, and I was asking her to take a few months off. Because we need time to settle back in before she left again, concerned about not fully reconnecting, and then she's on the road and it's really hard then. She has turned down a few jobs based on me suggesting she not take it, but it was usually just because it didn't look like a good job, and she was on the fence herself. I used to visit her occasionally when she is out of town too, so that made it easier. But that basically came off the table on 10WK trip starting in April. So, it became much harder then. And she knew my thoughts on that. I travel a few times a year for work, but it's usually not for long, 4 to 5 days. And I'm generally accessible by phone, text, or she came with. By the way, what to do, won't let her X herself, obviously. And it's nice to have some communication lines open, but clearly don't want to be sucked in by pity. Why would she want to pull that if she wants out too? A few comments about her maybe opening up if I had stayed longer yesterday. Perhaps she sees this as an opportunity to talk to me for a completely valid reason. If that's the case, and it happens more, puts me in a tough spot because I want to have that conversation with her. Just don't want to initiate it because that takes hand away from me, and undoes a lot of my recent posturing while moving on. Maybe to give herself more time to get her financial house in order before it's final. I mean, she's the one pushing for the house sale ASAP, but then again, we've been talking about getting out of that house for years. Kind of trapped, and getting out would ease her financial strain, even if it tarnishes her credit. I haven't contacted her parents, not sure why, but I guess we haven't spoken since I called them the day after I left. And they haven't gotten in touch with me either. I'm sure they'd be receptive to my contact, especially since it would be in regard to caring about their daughter's health. They are no doubt staying out of it out of respect, but just didn't make the call the other day. Don't ask me, still might. My W mentioned the other day when I was over at the house that she had to borrow money from them. A little twinge of guilt trip because I know they can't really afford it. Really the only bit of guilt she invoked while I was there. She was judging my empathy, I presume. I said, sorry to hear that, and changed the subject. We have actually given them substantial financial support many times in the last few years. But in my mind, I know she is the one who put herself, and now them, in this situation. And it's not my fault. Think of the thousands we'd have in the bank right now if this had never happened. Her choices. Her results. Talked with STBXW yesterday. Her GF took her to the doc, and turns out she has 4 broken ribs and a bruised lung from her fall, as well as the knock on the head. She's on pain meds and happy. Except for having to wear a brace for the ribs, I chose to offer to assist her over the next few days if she would like. She was thankful. Said it was selfless and very kind of me, told her not to get used to it. She actually laughed. As a result, I've gotten a lot of communication from her. Mostly via text, as that's her new first language, all smiley and casual in nature. I admit it has messed with my general mood a bit, as having a sudden dose of empathy mixed in with the massive pile of pain of the last few months puts me in a different place at the moment. She has so far said she'll be fine, but thanks for the offer. But she has also joked about me coming over some night to enjoy her meds with her. She said one has my name on it, told her it was duly noted. I've been generally friendly with any replies, short and to the point. But I certainly respond a lot more now that she's not texting me the equivalent of flinging her own feces at me, training her to be a good girl through the divorce. If only I'd known this earlier. I may not be here. But, beats the crazy, when I see a text from her, I still expect it to be something like stole the tax crap, hey. Let's go there, but then it turns out to be the guy did a great job on the basement, looks amazing. So, I'm glad things are more amicable, but I've had to be on top of myself trying to maintain my MK2, getting easier to know what to do. Just a new phase. As for her maybe starting to come out of the fog and wanting to push for R, yeah. Still no apology or acknowledgement of wrongdoing anyway. So the point is moot, so, no worries, I'm feeling softer towards her. But I expect very little. As you all know I should, and I know she's asked some of her girlfriends to keep her in mind if they have any single friends, because she's a single gal now. Lonely. And doesn't know what to do with all the free time, warm fuzzy feeling for me, huh? The warmth of it all. And $10 says she asks me to bring the dogs for visit. I say today or tomorrow, any takers. Not sure if it's beta being too strong or just being thrown a hefty curveball with the injury. Reintroducing a little empathy for her into my mindset. No, I need to be careful. With you on that 100%, just can't imagine her wanting to suck me back in. She was planning to leave me for months before I discovered her game. I think she's happy as hell to have me gone. Just not happy with the financial stress of doing this my way. That and she was hoping for me to keep the house while she moved out and got to live the free life. Whoops, she's being nice right now. I'm not calling her, she's calling, texting me, while I miss my wife. The original wife. I'm looking at this as making use of the lack of vitriol to make some headway on communication on the divorce. I talk to OMW and afterward I find myself truly jealous that at least her garbage husband is on his hands and knees begging for her forgiveness. Saying he's sorry and will do anything to fix what he's done, giving her passwords and access to all accounts, at least the ones she knows about. She's not ignorant of the realities here, at least owning up and going through the motions of showing, now, after being caught, that he cares enough to express his remorse and try to make it right. Mine doesn't give a crap, or at least is a master at hiding it. I know all the niceness from her since I helped her out this weekend is screwing with my head. Therapist refers to this as my fantasy. It's a simple fantasy, but it is just that. She comes to me and at least tries to make it good. Regardless of how it works out, but whatever. Was at dinner again tonight with a colleague who's also on the verge of divorce. He's thinking about leaving her because she's crazy, bipolar and needy, while also pushing him away and blaming him for everything wrong with her life. He's tired of the crazy. Funny thing is he's almost jealous of me because at least I had a clear-cut reason to leave. That said, he mentioned his W was reading a novel the other day. Apparently she doesn't read novels. He asked her about it and she told him a guy from her Pilates class gave it to her. I told him I saw that as a red flag, and not to make him paranoid, but listed off several other possible red flags, during most of which he nodded along, looked a little surprised and then said interesting. Well, that would almost be a relief at this point. Yes, in situations like these we all see things elsewhere we'd prefer to have, when others may not find it so appealing, like OMW. She has what I'm saying I want. A gut-wrenching apology and remorseful actions. But still she's miserable. She's told me she wishes he would stop so it would be easier for her to just rip off the Band-Aid, probably because he's stirring up an even more confusing drink of feelings by doing that. Careful what you wish for, I guess. Sorry for the downer post, but one of those nights. My comment, do you think OP still miss her? Would you feel the same way? What would you have done differently? Comment down below and